Welcome back, horticultural friends. And today we've got a bit of a special treat. We're actually in the Isle of Wight at a place called Ventnor Botanic Gardens. And as you can see around me, there are loads of exotic, beautiful plants. We're in the subtropical palm garden here. And we've got Cordylines, a lot of Trachycarpus. I think over there we've got a Butia. But these gardens are huge and extensive. And I've always wanted to come here. And because it's got such a unique microclimate, really mild, they can grow some really, really unusual plants. And they can grow them much better than we can on the mainland. So today I'm hoping to show you just some really nice, unusual specimens when I come across them and talk a little bit about them, maybe inspire you to do a bit of a tropical garden. Haven't come very far at all. There's this Magnolia here, and it's got huge flowers. Now, I think it's delvayii, but I will key it, look it up, and put it in the description. I'm sure I'm going to film more of these, but there's a lot of phoenix here. I mean, you can buy them in the UK. You can pick them up pretty cheap. But unless you live in London or Cornwall or Devon or on the south coast generally, they just never seem to achieve these sizes. Just next to that Magnolia is something called a Pseudopanax crucifolia. Now these are quite common actually, and we can grow them in the UK on the mainland. And they've normally got purpley thin leaves, but you can see here, I've never actually seen this. This is one with the mature foliage. And I've never seen what it's like. It's got something called divaricous foliage, so the juvenile foliage is very different to the mature. And they think that's because of something called the giant moa bird, which used to roam around in New Zealand before human settlers killed them, which were much bigger than ostriches, like 2 or 3 meters tall. The biggest flightless bird on the planet. And when these are younger, they have this really sort of indigestible, hard, red leaves. And hopefully we'll come across some to show you in a bit. So this is the Pseudopanax ferox, not ferox, crucifolia in my garden. Ferox is very similar though. And this is just an example of the juvenile foliage. I didn't actually find a juvenile one at Ventnor Botanic Gardens, but I'm sure there were some. I probably missed them, but just to give you an idea of how different the juvenile foliage is and what it looks like. This is another really beautiful, unusual plant. It's called Iochroma australis. Now, the reason I've chosen to show you this one is that not only is it beautiful, but I have seen people grow this in Nottingham in the UK, so it will take a few degrees of frost, whereas some of the stuff here that you see, you haven't got a hope in hell really growing in mainland UK. Just here we've got Eriobotrya japonica, which is an amazing tree, the loquat, which has lovely exotic foliage. In fact, I can't see many big ones in this garden. I'm right next to it, and I suspect it's because, yeah, right next to it is one which isn't as hardy, but really stunning, is Eriobotrya deflexa. I don't know if it's copper tone. I think it might be just a wild deflexa. But yeah, it's a beautiful plant, that. Now, not as hardy. A bit trickier to grow. Unless you live down south. I mean, just to give you an idea, this is a citrus here. I don't know which one it is. Not great on citrus, but we've got literally a citrus tree here that's left out all year round. And that gives you an idea of how mild it actually is here. The bark on this Arbutus, I'm not sure which one it is, I can't see the label, but it's a strawberry, one of the strawberry trees is tremendous. And of course, normally we grow these in our garden, and they're only just small evergreen shrubs. But in a garden like this, Not only has it got unusual plants, it's got plants that are massive, old specimens of unusual plants. And people don't realise how colourful the bark can be on some of these strawberry trees. And some of the myrtles as well. This is a Washingtonia. It could be Filfera or Robusta or Filibuster. But again, it's something that you can pick up cheap. And unless you live in a city or a sheltered area, it probably won't do very well for you. -10. But here, I think I'm going to end up seeing a lot more of these about the garden. This is Spanish broom, which you can actually grow anywhere in the UK, but it does look fantastic here with all the Mediterranean plants. Just here is a beautiful example of a Butia. This is, I don't know, it could be Butia odorata. There's a few Butias. I can't see the label on this, but they vary slightly. They're difficult to tell apart. Unless you're a palm expert. But this is touted to be one of the hardier feather palms. Now, a lot of the palmate palms are hardy, but the feather palms aren't so. So the Phoenix canariensis we were talking about earlier, which is just here, is not very hardy, whereas maybe sort of -10, whereas this one is a bit hardier. Unfortunately, it's a lot more expensive. Whereas the Phoenix canariensis you can pick up from B&Q or Lidl or Asda, B&M for next to nothing. This one, for one similar size, it's going to probably set you like 30 to 50 quid just for a small one. But they are beautiful looking things. Even if you lived, even in the Midlands, I would recommend just growing this in a big pot and get it as big as you can until you risk putting it out there. I've heard about people losing these, so they're still not as hardy as something like a Trachycarpus, which are pretty much indestructible. These are some of the largest Chamaerops humilis I've seen, bar Cornwall. They must be like 15 foot tall. And that is one palm you can grow in the mainland UK. I mean, around here, there's more unusual plants than you can shake a stick at. I was just saying to my partner, I'm going to have to start deleting some precious family memories off the phone so we've got enough storage for all this. And she wasn't very happy. Not exotic at all, but I really do enjoy these evening primroses threaded through. You can see those Echiums would have looked fantastic. They would have been beautiful blue spires, Echium pininana, which again in most parts of the UK will suffer in a winter which gets near sort of -5 to -10. But they would have been spectacular blue, and they must be 15 foot as well. They're huge. But yeah, I really like the use of some of the planting here, the way they thread through certain plants like the Phlomus and the Phlomus russellinia, which will actually grow in dry shade as well as full sun, and these evening primroses, and even some common plants like this Hypericum. You can see there's real variability in these Chamaerops humilis, and I always notice that when you buy them. Some of them have got beautiful silver leaves, whereas that one I showed you earlier has got really dark green leaves. So I mentioned earlier the Echiums that were in flower that have gone over. Well, this one's still in flower, and look at it, it's absolutely ginormous. And these are fantastic for bees. When it heats up in a bit, these will be absolutely covered in bees. And these are really easy to grow from seed. Really easy to grow from seed. So even though they're not that hardy, they're worth giving a punt and just trying a few, because you've got nothing left to lose, and they're literally as easy as growing a foxglove. I mean, to give you an idea of how clement it is here. It's actually an olive grove here, and it's pretty amazing. There's something about all the silver leaves. It really does instantly give that Mediterranean feel. And you have to pinch yourself and realise we're all just in the UK. Again, there's a lot more of this sort of Mediterranean plant in the Verbascum bombiciferum. I think this one's called Arctic summer. But it's a type of bombiciferum anyway. More Echiums. Another large phoenix, looking fantastic. But next to it is a really interesting plant called Isoplexis canariensis. Beautiful orange flowers, very borderline. If you've got a cold greenhouse, you could pop this in the greenhouse, and obviously if it's in a sunnier spot than this, it'll make a nice rounded shrub. But really, really unusual. I've grown these from seed several times and lost them. But that was a long time ago. Oh, in fact, there's one right next to me. And I'm going to film that. But you can see here, stunning. This is an old purple beech. It's obviously got diseased, and they've decided to cut it down. You can see it's hollow, so it would have been very dangerous. And beech trees get something called sudden branch drop, but actually makes a fantastic feature. Just here, beautiful cycad. I mean, it's huge. I mean, this must be a very old plant. Absolutely ginormous. Now you can pick these up quite cheap from B&Q sometimes, but I actually get a lot of frost damage just in a cold greenhouse in Nottingham. But here it's clearly planted and just left to its own devices. Wind's just picked up, but this is an unusual plant. It's called Cantua buxifolia. Really, I almost thought it was a cotoneaster at first when I saw the foliage. But the reason I knew, of course, was because there's a label on it. But yeah, what a interesting looking thing that is. I'll have to see how hardy that is. I just nearly stepped on this fella. Beautiful. It's not just palms and exotic looking things you can grow here. There's also a lot of succulents being framed nicely by this Erigeron karvinskianus. So we've got agaves here. I think that's salmiana ferox, that one. We've got Aeoniums growing out the wall. Again, we lose those in the winter sometimes, even in a greenhouse. Got Puyas here. Not sure which one that is. But stunning. Incredibly spiky. Cotyledon, which is not at all hardy anywhere. But it's absolutely stunning, some of the stuff. I don't even know what that is. Is it an Aeonium or a large Agave? Oh, it's an australis, I believe. Australis megalorhiza. That's interesting. But yeah, absolutely amazing. These, I keep saying this. This is some sort of Beschorneria. Might be albiflora. Now you can grow the Eucoides quicksilver, which is equally as spectacular if you don't live in a ridiculously mild place like this.